Hello class, I decided to do my final presentation topic over my love of the original game for Game Boy for Pokemon Red and Blue. I decided to do this as my final presentation because of how much the games mean to me as far as how much they've helped me in my adult life, I would say. I look back at playing those games and I realize how much it helped me develop my critical thinking skills, my determination skills, and how much it actually helped me in my reading skills when I was younger. I got my first Pokemon game, Pokemon Red version, in 1999 when I was 7 years old, and it was the most exciting thing that I think ever happened at that age. I had to save my own money to buy the game, and I saved all the money for my birthday that year, and I got money for chores that I did around the house, and I was finally able to buy the game. And once I started playing it, again, being 7 years old, I was just starting to develop my reading skills. So playing the game, it's very centered around reading the subtext from the characters to find out where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do next in the game. So with playing the game, it actually helped me advance my reading skills pretty quick, because when you're playing, you want to know what's happening and you want to know what your Pokemon are doing or what they need or what items you're supposed to be finding. So it helped me advance those skills pretty quick. I say it helped me with my critical thinking skills because you think as a 7-year-old kid in the early or the late 90s, we didn't really have the internet like we do today. So whenever you got to a point in the game that you didn't know what you needed to do next or where you needed to go, you had to figure it out. There was no, let me just Google where I need to go right quick. It was, you had to figure out who to talk to, what part of the game to get into, what item you needed to find, and it was on you to figure it out. The only way that you would figure it out if you didn't know is if you knew someone else who was playing the game at the time that could tell you where to go or what to do. And that by itself was a big motivator to think critically, because you had to think, have I been here before? Did I check every section? Did I talk to everyone in the town? Did I look at every item that I could possibly find? So it was very intensive as a child. You think of a 7-year-old kid trying to figure out all that stuff on his own. So I think it helped me a lot trying to figure things out. The other thing I loved about the game itself was the aspect of determination. You, in the game, have to get 8 gym badges from 8 different towns, and once you get those 8 badges, you get to go to the Elite Four and battle 4 advanced trainers, and once you beat them, you face off against your rival in the game, and once you beat your rival, you become the Pokemon League champion. And that's only one side of the game. That's one part of it. The other side is there's 151 Pokemon in the game that you're supposed to try to catch. What I thought was really interesting when the game was first released, and you didn't know this until you started playing the game and realized someone else was playing the game, there's only certain Pokemon that you can catch in each version. Pokemon did that on purpose because they wanted people to interact and trade and battle in these games. So in Pokemon Fire or Pokemon Red version, there's 11 Pokemon you can catch in that game that you can't catch in Blue version, and there's 11 Pokemon in Blue version that you can't catch in Red version. So in order to get all 151 Pokemon, you actually had to find another kid at school or someone that you knew that had the other version of the game, and you had to trade between the two of them. So not only was it a determination to catch all the Pokemon you can, but it was also a socialization and friendship building tool to be able to say, hey, you've got Blue version, I've got Red version, let's trade these Pokemon so that we can both get to where we need to go. So in that aspect, I feel like the game itself is just an all-around builder, because it builds your critical thinking skills, it helped your reading skills if you were younger, it built your socialization skills for kids who had to trade and battle with each other to get all the Pokemon, and it was just fun. I mean, you could literally be playing those games at any time and have an adventure on your own without playing the main game, or you could play the main game and just be determined to actually beat it. I couldn't tell you how many times I beat the game, and then I would start it over just to beat it again, because in the game, when you first start out, there's 3 different starters you get to choose from. And the other part of the critical thinking skills is you have to know what types are good against what other types are in the game. So not only were you learning about reading and critical thinking skills, but you were also developing analytic skills and statistics, because you had to know that fire was effective against grass, and that water was effective against fire, and that electricity wouldn't work good against ground types. So you were learning as you were playing, but you were also building skills that could help you in any aspect of life. And I think that's what's so great about those games, is that even though you're having fun, you don't realize you're learning. You are learning a lot. So I just think that those games, when you look at it that way, are way more than just a way for a child or anyone really to just have fun. It's much more than that. You're building yourself while you're playing those games. So I feel like, with that being said, I feel like Pokemon in general as a company knew what they were doing whenever they made these games. So, and I know I love those games, and it builds on to what happened later on last year. They released Pokemon Go for phones, where you could actually download the app and you could walk around and actually encounter the Pokemon that you grew up catching on a game. You could catch essentially in real life. I couldn't tell you how excited I was when that game released, because the nostalgia, one, because you remember all the Pokemon you used to catch when you were a kid, and you were actually catching them in real life. You were encountering them in the real world. You actually had to get up from the couch, go outside, walk around, encounter new Pokemon every day. And you also had to do certain things in the game. So like if you had an egg, to hatch it, you actually had to walk either 2, 5, or 10 kilometers to make the egg hatch. That was genius by Pokemon to do that, because that not only got people up and out, but it also got people interacting. There was people, when the game first released, I remember when we lived in Waco, downtown Waco was crazy. There were so many people outside playing the game, and it was cool because you knew everyone who was out there with their phones out walking around was playing Pokemon, and you knew that in some aspect that you related to them in some way, because they were playing the same game you were playing with the same enthusiasm that you had at that moment. So it was just so, I would say, magical in a way, because there's no other game that I can think of that's ever done that could bring together such a vast community of fans, and that they would all go out at the same time and just start playing this game together. And I'm excited for the future, because right now in the game, it's still very solo based. Like, you can only play in the world by yourself. And I know later this year they're coming out with an update where you can actually play against other players in the real world, which is going to be amazing, because it's going to open up a whole nother side of the socialization and experience of the game. So I'm excited for it. I don't know how many other people in our class will understand and appreciate the excitement that's coming with it, but I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see where the Pokemon Go app ends up and how advanced it's going to get. But it's just crazy to think that that app started from a game that was on Game Boy, and I mean, Pokemon in general has evolved into something much more than just characters, because when you're playing those games, those aren't just characters in a game, those are your team. That's your team. You're training those Pokemon up to battle against other people, and you're training them because you want to see them evolve, and you want to see how far you can push yourself in the game and how good you can get, and you get them to the best that they can be. So I really think that Pokemon, even though it's such an old game now, it's been out for 20 years, will continue to advance and grow. And even with the new games, kids are still being captivated by them. And I, for one, will get my kid any Pokemon game they ever ask for, because I know how much it helped me in my personal life and how much it helped me grow with my critical thinking and reading skills. So I will have no problem getting them for my kids whenever they ask for them, if they ask for them. So thanks for sticking with me, and thanks for the great semester, guys.